Good evening. You are tuning in to AWANI Tonight with me, Cynthia Ng. Communications Minister Fahmi Fadzil says there is no need for the government to suspend the registration of users for the central database hub Padu, as the system is working smoothly now. He says the Economy Ministry swiftly addressed a security flaw in Padu after a user highlighted a loophole within the system.
Pada waktu ini kita dapati sistem tersebut berjalan dengan lancar. Isu-isu yang dibangkitkan telah berjaya diselesaikan dalam jangka masa yang sangat singkat dan pemantauan tentang aspek keselamatan terus dilakukan. Jadi tidak timbul isu untuk menangguhkan.
Early on Wednesday, a netizen on social media platform X found a loophole within its system, which allowed third parties to use identity card numbers to override passwords in the newly launched Padu. The Ministry of Economy acknowledged the issue and has since changed Padu's application programming interface API to fix the flaw.
Economy Minister Rafizi Ramli has assured that swift action has been taken to address a number of issues regarding Padu. Among them are issues of bugs and vulnerabilities in the system.
Updating information can be done immediately after logging in without going through the eKYC or electronic Know Your Customer process. eKYC, Rafizi said, will only be implemented once all the information has been updated and the user wants to verify and authenticate the profile submission. He also clarified that a single phone number could be used to register up to 5 accounts of individuals living in the same household. Regarding complaints from those who are unable to fill out their household details, Rafizi said every individual over the age of 18 must have their own individual account, and individuals who are under one household must be included in the same household, including those under the age of 18 and non-citizens. Only the head of the household is allowed to update the household information, which is why it is strongly encouraged to fill out information with other household members to facilitate the verification process.
Separately, Communications Minister Fahmi Fadzil says his ministry has agreed to revamp the Community Communications Department, or JCOM, and re-evaluate its functions. The minister, however, says that plans to revamp the department had been in the pipeline even before UMNO Supreme Council member Datuk Dr. Puat Zakarshi called for an overhaul.
Sebelum isu ini berbangkit pun, memang saya ada hasrat untuk meneliti semula fungsi JCOM. Ya, dan oleh kerana tempoh masih terlalu awal untuk saya buat apa-apa pengumuman, tapi memang kita lihat perlu ada penyesuaian beberapa fungsi tugas yang selaras dengan hasrat kerajaan madani untuk dilaksana oleh agensi termasuk oleh JCOM.
Puat on Wednesday called for a review of JCOM after the department revealed an ongoing attempt by various parties, both in the opposition and government, to topple the current administration led by Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim in the so-called Dubai move.
Child grooming is defined as communicating with a child by any means with the intention of committing or facilitating the commission of a sexual offence. Karen Lai from the Women's Centre for Change shares more on the scale of the issue in Malaysia.
Coming to numbers, at WCC on average we handle over 100 cases of child sexual abuse a year, and we can say that grooming is almost always present in such cases. However, despite the legal provisions and despite the circumstances, we find that charges for child grooming are rarely brought against perpetrators in court. Hence, when you talk about data on this specific crime, it's relatively lacking, at least as far as we know, across Malaysia.
With over 90% of children in Malaysia aged 12 to 17 on social media, Karen noted there was a risk of increased exposure to sexual predators and impacts on their mental health.
So at the initial stage, the groomer can seem very nice, extremely nice and caring. And they build trust by being very charming, very understanding and listening to the child or teenager a lot. They may pretend to have shared interests or experiences. And very commonly, you see them use certain grooming strategies such as flattery, attention, sending special gifts, and so on. And gradually, we see a sexual element being introduced. Now, bringing all this into the digital realm in particular, there are at least two specific dangers or risks for child sexual grooming. The first is in terms of exposure, and the second is in terms of impact. Now, compared to the physical supervision of a child's movement or whereabouts, it's arguably even harder to supervise children's usage of their smartphones. And hence, the risk or exposure of a sexual predator is actually greater in that sense. And secondly, even if no physical sexual abuse actually takes place, there's evidence to suggest that children or teenagers who experience online sexual grooming suffer the same harm in terms of the shame and the guilt they feel. Many suffer long-term depression, some resort to self-harm, and so on. And in the long term, this could damage their ability to build trusting relationships with others.
A national survey this year found that 88% of children in Malaysia aged 13 to 18 were sexually active. According to Karen, this signals an urgent need for increased parental involvement and comprehensive education on sexual and reproductive health.
At the end of the day, prevention is still the best strategy. I think building a foundation of trust and support for children is critical. This would include proper parenting and communication skills within the families, and parents need to spend enough quality time with the children and provide adequate supervision of their online activities. A common pattern we see in our child sexual abuse cases at WCC is that victims tend to come from homes where parental or family support is lacking, such as broken homes or situations where one or both parents are too busy working to earn a living. And that's very common in the current economic climate. We understand that this is a real challenge for many families out there. But the thing is, neglecting children's emotional needs will come at a price. The kids will get those needs met elsewhere, including online. Next is awareness and sexuality education for children and teenagers. I think that is really important. It's critical to teach children to value themselves and also set personal boundaries. Of course, last but not least, with the increased threat of online violence against children, online child sexual abuse and exploitation, teaching children about cyber safety is very important. This can be done by parents, teachers, concerned adults, caregivers, and so on. WCC has developed a cyber safety guidebook, which can be downloaded for free on our website. We encourage the public to visit our website at www.wccpenang.org. There's a lot of valuable information and resources there.
We'll go for a quick break. Stay tuned for more. Welcome back. The passenger jet that collided with a Coast Guard plane at Tokyo's Haneda Airport yesterday was cleared to land, but the Coast Guard aircraft was not cleared to take off. Transcripts of traffic control instructions showed that the Coast Guard plane had been told to taxi to a holding point near the runway. Authorities are also investigating whether the crash, which killed 5 people, was caused by professional negligence. A statement from Japan Airlines said that its plane had acknowledged and repeated air traffic control's permission to land before touching down. Separately, officials said they have recovered the black box of the Coast Guard plane, but the black box of the Airbus passenger jet has yet to be found. The Japan Safety Transport Board is leading investigations into the crash, along with authorities in France, where the airplane was built, and Britain, where its engines were manufactured. All but one of the 6 people on the Coast Guard aircraft died, while all 379 passengers and crew had escaped within 18 minutes after landing, right before the Japan Airlines plane was fully engulfed in flames. The death toll from a powerful earthquake in the Ishikawa prefecture in Japan has risen to 64 people, with more than 300 injured. The toll is expected to climb as rescuers scramble to search for survivors while battling aftershocks amid warnings of landslides and heavy rain.
More than 31,800 people were placed in shelters, while the number of military personnel sent to the area on rescue missions was doubled, with more rescue dogs also deployed. Around 32,800 households were still without power, and many cities were without running water. While plenty of food and emergency supplies have arrived in the region, damaged roads had blocked or slowed their delivery to communities. The 7.5 magnitude quake on January 1st rattled the Ishikawa prefecture on the main island of Honshu, triggering tsunami waves more than a meter high. The Japan Meteorological Agency has issued a heavy rain warning in the region, advising people to be on alert for landslides until Wednesday evening.
The Israeli army says it is prepared for any scenario after Hamas deputy leader Saleh al-Aruri was killed in a drone strike in Lebanon's capital Beirut on Tuesday. Aruri was the most senior Hamas figure killed since the war with Israel began, stoking fears the fighting in Gaza could boil over into wider regional conflict.
Israeli army spokesman Daniel Hagari did not directly comment on the killing, but said afterwards that the military was in very high state of readiness in defense and offense. Israel has previously announced the deaths in Gaza of Hamas commanders and officials during the war. But Aruri is the most high-profile figure to be killed, and his death came in the first strike on the Lebanese capital since hostilities began. Hamas said Aruri's death would not lead to its defeat, while its Lebanon-based ally Hezbollah vowed the killing would not go unpunished.
The running mate of Indonesia's leading presidential candidate, Gibran Rakabuming Raka, has been summoned for questioning by the country's election watchdog Bawaslu. According to an election official, this is over allegations that Gibran broke campaign rules by handing out free milk to people at a public car-free day event last month.
A 2016 Jakarta regulation prohibits events for the benefit of political parties on car-free days, when vehicles are banned from major streets. Bawaslu would not have the authority to punish Gibran, and it remains unclear whether the city authorities would do so. Gibran, whose father is the current President Joko Widodo, is seeking vice presidency in the February 14th election, alongside Defence Minister Prabowo Subianto. The pair currently hold a solid lead over the teams of rival presidential candidates Anies Baswedan and Ganjar Pranowo.
That wraps up AWANI Tonight. I am Cynthia Ng. Thank you for watching and good night.